Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I am going to be talking about the series that I will not finish. I've seen this video on a few people's channels now, most recently Reagan at Prose Project, and there are a lot of series out there that are quite popular. I have no intention of continuing, and because I quite like being one of these contentious people and I like having unpopular opinions and I just like being a contrarian. It's part of my nature, it's who I am, I'm very arrogant in that fact. I am going to list them for you. Lauren Kate's Fallen series. Personally, I don't think many people do finish this series. I think I went into it imagining that it was going to be a trilogy and then it just kind of developed all these other books and really, it's not good. It's not good in the slightest, and it was one of those series that came out just after Twilight, and it followed all the tropes, and basically it was Twilight. It was Twilight with Fallen Angels, which is the same thing, which is the Hush Hush series by Becca Fitzpatrick. Again, it actually follows the entire storyline of Twilight in that first book, and then I have to admit I gave them quite good reviews at the time because they were extremely readable and they're very quick reads. They had different mythology at the time and I thought that I really enjoyed them, but then when they announced that it was no longer going to be a series of 3 books, it was going to be 4 books, I was like, I'd had enough. And I realised the more I had no urge to read the 3rd book, that I really had no urge to finish the series and I didn't care, and all I could remember about the series was the fact that Nora kept pulling Patch towards her by his belt loops. Next, I won't be finishing the Graceling series by Kristen Cashore. I've read Graceling and I've read Fire, and I just find them extremely difficult books to get through. Kristen Cashore is a brilliant writer, but her books just bore me, and they're meant to be pacey, but there's nothing in them at all that leaves me any want at all to read them. Dorothy Must Die series by Danielle Page, and this is one of those stories that really sounded like it appealed to me, and I know it was a Full Fathom 5 book, and I know there's the whole controversy with James Frey, but I decided to push that aside because it sounded like a book that I would like to read. People kept talking about how it went back to the darker parts of Oz, and it does, but in the synopsis, the blurb, whatever you want to call it, listed something like she must get the Scarecrow's brain, the Tin Man's heart, and do that, and then Dorothy must die. Well, the main character didn't even find this out until about 5 pages towards the end, and the entire book doesn't even, nothing happens until you're 5 pages towards the end of this book. And it's like, I do not want to continue a series when I have no faith in the writer actually being able to write a flaming book. So, no, goodbye Dorothy Must Die. Next, we have the Shatter series by Tahera Moffi, which I just cannot stand. Read the first book, and I think if people are looking for lyrical prose, one of those things that I've always wondered what's so lyrical about it, and really all Tahera Moffi manages to do in the Shatter series is overuse metaphors, not use metaphors well, and her main characters, there is no story at all. I feel like that story could have been told in one book because nothing again, it's another book that nothing happens until you're right towards the end. And I feel like it's doing this whole young adult thing of it has to have a series because everyone wants to read a trilogy, and it's that whole thing of it just feels like a money-making thing. And I know it's popular and I know people really like the characters, but I just could not stand it. And it was like, if I wanted to read the X-Men, I would read the X-Men, because this was just taking it was taking the Bryan Singer films from the early 2000s, and it was taking that storyline and it was just like setting it in a dystopian future, and I just wanted no part in it. And the characters are just not very good characters at all. Juliet is this whiny Mary Sue, and I don't think anyone understands how much of a Mary Sue she actually is. And it's like, she's this girl who's incredibly beautiful, and she has this really rare power, and she thinks that everybody hates her and nobody can love her because of this power, but then, oh wait, she falls in love with two. And no! Terrible book, will not be continuing the series, and the worst thing about this series was the fact that I wasted money on it. The Rebel Belle series by Rachel Hawkins. Yeah, Rebel Belle. Awful 2-star book. another book that was meant to be a standalone, and everyone was talking about how fantastic it was, and it really was not. The Grisha trilogy by Leigh Bardugo, and this is one that I might go on to read, but for now I really have no plans to, because although I can remember enjoying the first book, I can't remember any of the plot points from the first book, and there is nothing at all that's pushing me to read the next two. The Magisterium series by Cassandra Clare and Holly Black, and that one, saying that I won't read this series is probably the one that most disappoints me, because I really like Cassandra Clare and I really like Holly Black, and I think that their writing is superb. And everything about this book, to me, with me as a fan of these two writers and the story they're writing with the Magisterium series, it should be a series that I adore. It should be a book that I have read and I've reread and give me the same feelings that their other books do. However, this book does not do that. This book was just bad. It was a poor retelling of Harry Potter and Star Wars in a magic school, and it was trying all of these things to be really good, and I'll commend it. I will commend it for having diverse characters and having strong female leads. That was brilliant, and I am really thankful and grateful that they did that. However, I just did not like the book, and I won't be continuing the series, but I will be reading their other books and continue to support them in any of their other books. It was just that I did not like this one. We have the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series by Laini Taylor. Now, again, this was a book that I was seeing everyone talk about on blogs and on YouTube, and I went out and I bought the hardcover and I read it, and I was just disappointed. I feel, again, you have a Mary Sue where you have everybody in love with Caru. She has a strange hair colour and she can do magic, and she's a bit like a manic pixie dream girl, and then there's this mystery. The prose wasn't as good as everyone was saying it was, and the only way that she could figure out how to reveal the mystery was by after introducing us all to these characters that we were meant to have connected to, moving the story into a different place after 300 pages, so that the last 100 pages aren't even with the characters that they should be with, and it was messily written for me, and it was just bad. It was a bad decision, and I did go and I tried to read the second book, and I couldn't do it. And again, it had intriguing ideas, and it was a good story, but no, there were too many problems with that series for me to want to continue, and it just wasn't good. If you disagree with anything that I have said here, you can comment below and you can try and change my mind, but my mind will not be changed. And if you enjoy these books, if you feel completely different, that is okay. I have plenty of friends who have read books that I've really enjoyed and they've hated them, and vice versa. I've really hated books and they've liked them, and it's the way the world works. We all like different things, and that's one of the great things. Although, you know, I really don't care if you shout at me, if you hate me for the rest of your lives. But I work in retail. You get shouted at most days for things you have no control over. So, frankly, I'm able to cope with you having a go at me. So, you know, shout all you like. I've probably heard it all before. And until next time, that is all.